What is a banana?
What is a banana?
Yeah.
It's a fruit.
What is a banana?
A fruit.
Is this the? Oh, you want to interview?
What is a banana?
Dude, a banana is a person who's seen as being like Asian on the outside, but having the personality of a white person.
Does that describe you?
Yeah.
Gabriel Duraco, Filipino, 18 years old, Seattle University.
My name is Caitlin. I'm Chinese and Vietnamese, and I'm a senior at Franklin, and I'm 18 years old.
I'm Ava Brandon Almgren. I'm white. I'm at Franklin High School. I'm 18, and I'm a senior.
My name is John Nguyen. I go to Franklin High School. I'm 17. I am a senior and I am Vietnamese American.
My name is Ahlam. I am Somali. I go to Franklin High School. I'm 18 years old and I'm a senior.
My name is Edgar. I'm Hispanic. I am a junior. I am 17 and I go to Franklin High School.
My name is Selena Furman. I'm Japanese and Filipino. I go to Franklin High School. I'm 18 years old and I'm a senior.
I'm Leslie Miranda. My ethnicity is Mexican American. I go to Franklin High School. I'm 17 years old and I'm in 12th grade.
Hey, I'm Kayla. I am a senior at Franklin and I'm Myanmar American and I'm 18.
My name is Sagal. I'm 18 years old. I'm Somali. I go to Franklin High School and I'm a senior.
My name is Simone Higashi. I am Japanese, white, and black, Franklin High School, and I am 18 years old, and I'm in 12th grade.
What is a banana?
A banana is something you eat.
Like a fruit, or what do you mean by banana?
A fruit?
It's a fruit. Wait, I don't understand what the question is. It's yellow. It's a fruit. It's what you eat to not get side cramps when you run.
What is a banana?
A food. I don't want to say it, Lenny.
What is a banana?
I don't know about you, but a banana is like a staple food. Like, it's so important in like most Somali meals. I don't know about you. Like, you would have pasta or like rice and there would be like a banana on the side.
Banana is a term used describing an Asian person who looks Asian but on the inside is white.
I heard this on Crazy Rich Asians. A banana is when you're Asian on the outside and white on the inside.
A banana? Yeah. An Asian person who's white on the inside. So like they're whitewashed, I guess. But on the outside they're an Asian person. They look Asian.
It's like when someone calls you a banana if you're like, you look Asian on the outside, but you're whitewashed on the inside.
Have you ever been called a banana?
I have not.
I mean, I've been told that I'm very delicious.
No.
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 No, I haven't. Probably because I don't really look super Asian. But I mean, I've seen people being called banana. I mean, it's not like foreign.
Yeah, in middle school.
Yeah, I was called a banana after like 6th grade when I started pushing myself away because I wasn't like embracing who I was and acting a different way.
As a joke? As a joke, yeah. People are like, you bananas, you're Somali bananas, but yeah.
What languages can you speak?
I can speak Vietnamese, I can speak English, and a little bit of French.
English and Swedish.
I speak English and enough Somali to get by.
I speak Japanese and English.
I speak English and a little bit of Japanese.
I speak Tagalog, Japanese, and English.
I can speak English, obviously. I can speak Mien, Korean, and Japanese.
I can speak Somali. I speak English. I can read in Arabic, but I can't really like speak into it.
I could barely speak Mandarin, Cantonese, Vietnamese, and Hakka.
I can speak fluent Spanish. I'm fluent in English as well. And I can also do a little bit of American Sign Language.
What do you define as culture?
To me, culture is defined in many different ways, but the way I view culture is how your parents teach you, like the basics of how to live like a normal life. It can be many different ways. It just really matters of like where you come from in your background.
I define culture as religion.
I define culture as customs, art, and social institutions that tie people together.
To me, culture is basically like it's a community you're a part of, usually because of your family, that you share like traditions and values and beliefs, and that's kind of what ties you together.
I identify culture as something that is a part of your identity. So it is I interpret culture as an important aspect of who you are.
I feel like culture is something that's been around in your family or like a group of people you know. It's been passed down through generations. So like food or dances, it's been passed around. Like my grandparents know it, my great-grandparents know it, I know it, and my younger siblings will know it. So I feel like it's something that just gets passed down through generations.
What you believe in and what you practice at home.
I think that culture is something that defines who you are and your background, your identity, and the community you come from.
I define culture as people who practice religion or have special types of food or maybe clothing.
I think culture can be anything as long as it defines like a certain race's history.
I think culture is something that's a part of you. It's who you are and like your background, where you come from.
Culture is like the environment that you grow up in as it's related to like where your family comes from and like the traditions you have.
How do you try to protect your culture?
That's really hard here in America, especially. I try my best to get in contact with my family, like talk to them more, or like learn recipes, or just go to cultural events if I can, or community centers. I know a lot of cultures have their own community centers. Like for me, the place I would go to is probably like an East African community center or like a masjid, which is like basically a mosque. But there are mosques that have mostly Somali people, so I would go there or just surround myself with my people.
I try to protect my culture by learning about traditions, speaking my mother's tongue, and sharing things about my cultures to others.
Personally, for me, my culture, I am Vietnamese American, so I am deeply involved in roots with my Vietnamese culture, but I'm also gay. Most people, when they think of culture, they always think of race and ethnicity being like the prominent thing of what culture is, but there's also your sexuality and like the differences between like straight culture and like gay culture and all of that. So me being both Vietnamese and gay, I often find having to protect other parts, like each part of my identity. So when I'm more involved with my Vietnamese community, I find that me being gay is more of a strange or odd thing, and I have to protect that side of me. Whereas I'm with my gay community, there is slight racism in that community as well, so I often find that I have to protect my other side of who I am.
Well, I try to protect my culture by embracing the things that like surround my culture, so like the foods, the traditions, like the clothing and family values and things like that. Like I try to really implement that in my life.
I try to protect my culture by not letting anybody bash my own ethnicity or race or any other aspect that ties into my culture. So if someone tries to disrespect my Mexican American heritage or anything tied to that, I get really defensive, but I don't bash them either because everybody's entitled to their opinions. I'm just saying I'm gonna defend my own culture if I have to.
Like I try to speak my language as much as I can, even though it's like super uncomfortable for me because, well, I grew up speaking it kind of with my parents, but then as I got into school, it made me more uncomfortable to speak it. Like it's just speaking English every day, so I guess I protect my culture by trying to speak my language more.
I protect my culture by making it a part of my life where I'm not afraid to hide it.
I think how I went about protecting my culture is by like learning Japanese, because my dad never really learned, and a lot of my family does speak or learned at some point. So I thought that was an important part of what I chose to do to like kind of help my culture live on in my family, is by like learning the language.
By informing people of what my culture really is, and if someone gets something wrong and it offends me, I correct them.
So what really is your culture?
Not really sure. I do kind of practice a lot of different kind of cultures, if you can say. It's just I really don't have one specific.
What different cultures are there?
Kind of believe in Christianity, and I also kind of believe in the science behind a lot of things.
How does your culture tie into your identity?
My culture ties into my identity because it shaped me a lot because I grew up with it. Like I was constantly surrounded by it, but there was a point in my life where I lost my culture and identity.
Well, for me, I don't really feel like I am strongly a part of any specific culture just because my family hasn't been. So I don't know that that's really affects me very strongly in my life.
They're essentially they're almost like one and the same, because how I view culture, it is just a lot of the things that we do, it's influenced by a culture.
Well, I'm Somali. I'm pretty sure everyone who sees me can see that, and there's no hiding it. So, every time I go somewhere, I know I'm Somali. I'm very proud of it, and so it's a huge part of my identity because it explains how I am, the foods I'm into, and the way I react to things, because I know the way you're raised is a huge part of who you are. And so I was raised by Somali immigrant parents, and so I have some of their mindset and their ideals, and so it's a huge part of who I am in that way.
Culture is a huge part of my identity just because when I think of who I am, the first thing that comes out of my mouth is that I'm Japanese and Filipino.
I think my culture is a really big part of my identity. It doesn't really define me as a person, but it's definitely a really big part of what makes me who I am.
It makes me who I am. I feel like no matter who you are, your culture is always going to make you who you are.
How do you feel like your language affects your culture?
Language affects my culture a lot because my grandparents and parents are immigrants and their first language is not English. So speaking the same language as them is really important to communicating.
It actually strengthens it because I feel like having different cultures, learning about different cultures just makes me a better individual, learning and having an open mind on how other people live their life.
Again, I'm not entirely sure if culture is the right word for what I is my family. We definitely have traditions, and my mom, since she was born in Sweden, they do some things differently, and it's a different feeling speaking Swedish with my mom and her family than it is speaking English when my dad's there. So I guess yes and no. It is a different feeling, but I'm still uncertain about or not sure about tying it back to the word culture.
Well, language is how you would communicate with everyone in your family or people who identify with you. So it's an important part to get to understand who you are as a Somali person, who other people are.
Well, I think that language is a huge part of my culture just because that's one of the basic things that if I speak Japanese, I can't speak Tagalog, but if I speak Japanese, that's a huge indicator that I am Japanese, and it's a huge part of the identity that comes with the culture.
As I said, I can't really speak it that well, but when I hear other people that can speak it well, like my oldest sister, I feel jealous kind of because she doesn't seem like she's scared of what people think, and I was. That's why I'm not really in touch with my culture and my language, so I just feel really insecure about it in general.
Since I don't speak Japanese regularly at home or any other language, it's not a big part of the life that I live normally, but when I went to Japan, it became a bigger part of my everyday life, and just things that I've done throughout my life. When I was in kindergarten, I was in a Japanese kind of class, and then I went to Japanese school in middle school, and so that kind of became kind of a regular routine.
Have you ever felt like you lost your culture?
Of course. I feel like living in America, I feel like you lose some part of your culture because you have to develop into this culture that's already made here.
Yeah, I felt like I lost my culture in 6th grade. It was a whole process through elementary school. I felt like I was Chinese, Vietnamese, and I was proud of it. But when I was put into school and everything, I was judged for being proudly Chinese and Vietnamese, so I started pushing that part of myself away, becoming like a whitewashed Asian. When I realized like I was losing it and I wanted to get it back, I started to try to speak more in like Cantonese and Vietnamese and Hakka to my family. Also because I was vice president of Asian Student Association, and that brought me closer to my culture and other people that share my culture.
I definitely have. I think like in middle school, I tried to fit into the white crowd just because I was often I was bullied, just like I was like criticized just because the fact that I'm Asian, so I oftentimes try to like hide that, like push that part of me like into like a closet just cause. And I tried to like whitewash myself just to like fit in.
Yes, I have. There was this one point in my life where I felt like nothing was real, and then I kind of just got over it and realized, yes, things are real, and my culture kind of helped me and kind of pushed me away.
I feel like in a way, like I've actually stayed really like close in contact with my culture, but like some parts of me, like I do feel like I have lost like some values and such. I feel like that, like I haven't really lost like traditions and stuff, but like the way I live and interact, like sometimes that I feel like I lost some of that.
Yeah, I can relate to that. Yeah, I think I've definitely had a feeling of loss when it comes to culture, my culture. Because before, like when I was younger, my parents used to take me to a lot of Mexican parties. And by that, I mean, there are these parties where all of our family comes together in like at a house or someone's house or something. And we just party, we go crazy, we go stupid. Oh, and food too. That's a really big part of what makes a Mexican party a Mexican party. Mexican food. There's a lot of people in the kitchen just whipping up a bunch of food and feeding everybody, because that's another thing. My family, they have to make sure everybody is fed before they feed themselves. And I used to love being there around that setting, around my cousins, around my siblings, around everybody just having a nice time. And that kind of started to come to an end around when I started high school. My parents kind of separated themselves from their own culture. So it wasn't really me, but they kind of dragged me into it. I never wanted to disassociate myself from my own culture. I loved my culture. I was proud of it. I was never embarrassed, but my parents started getting embarrassed of their own culture, which I did not understand at the time. And to be honest, I still don't really understand why. But they stopped taking us to these parties. They stopped associating with people who went to those parties. And I started having the same mentality as my parents, and that also rubbed off on my siblings as well. And we kind of turned into whitewashed people. Then they started going towards that culture again, and they started embracing their own culture again, which I have no idea why. I really don't know why, but they started accepting it a little more later on, like 2 years later. I don't know if it was a phase or something, but they just started getting back into that.
Not like I've lost it, but I feel like, especially on my mom's side, I don't look black at all. And so it's kind of hard being a part of that like community.
Did you lose it intentionally?
Of course not. I don't think you can intentionally lose your culture unless you like just completely just hate like every part of your culture.
Yes. Just because people were criticizing me for my culture, I wanted to lose a part of it.
I didn't realize it then, but now that I look back on it, it was somewhat intentional, because I wanted to, feel like I was blending in, like I was like everyone else, that I intentionally did not speak Somali as much. I intentionally did not bring the foods I used to bring to school with me and things like that. At the time, I didn't realize it, but now that I'm older and looking back on it, it was intentional. I just didn't put two and two together.
No, I don't think so. It's just, actually, maybe I have, but it's not like I was constantly thinking like, oh, like I don't want to be Mian anymore, blah, blah, blah. It was just more like I struggled with my identity as an Asian person, but I wasn't actively like trying to erase my identity.
How do you feel when you tell people about your loss of culture?
Do they judge you, and do you care if they judge?
When I tell people, I feel ashamed because, yeah, I feel judged because they're just like, why you do that? You're Chinese, Vietnamese, you should have saved it, whatever, speak it. But then like during the time, I felt like it was like the opposite. They're just like, why are you eating those food? Why are you talking like that?
A lot of people viewed me as like weak and pathetic, but then I kind of used that as tools to like better improve myself as a person. A lot of people judge me based off my culture. Going to a privileged school, Seattle University, it's predominantly white, so I'm like a minority, so like a lot of people like look down on me just because like of my color of my skin and the way I talk and just the way I do things.
I honestly never thought about that at all because I really don't care what people think about me.
I'm proud. Like, I've reached a point where I'm proud of who I am. I want everyone to know I'm Somali, I'm Muslim, and all of that. Judging, I don't, of course, like, I'm loud sometimes, and I'm very proud of my people, so sure, there's gonna be people that are like, what's she so loud for? But it doesn't bother me. I'm good.
So I'm pretty sure they do judge me, but I really don't care if they judge me about it.
I get a lot of surprise just because there aren't so many people around like this neighborhood that are Japanese. And when I say I'm Japanese, they're like, whoa, that's so cool. And then I tell them I'm Filipino, and then they're just like, they just don't believe me. So like, not really like judgment, but there's just a lot of surprise around that, and people don't really see that in me, like how I look and things.
I think it's, for me at least, when I'm telling people about like what I am, or at least it's more like they are like kind of curious because they don't know. It happens all the time where like, I don't know, just random people at the bus stop try and like guess guess my race or whatever, or like, and then it's, I don't know, it's always an interesting situation. But like, I don't ever feel judged when I explain what I am. I think it's more of a, people are curious and they want to know, which I mean, I don't really mind telling people.
I feel like people did judge me when I told them that I kind of disassociated myself from my own culture, because it's typically viewed down upon. So if someone just separates themselves from their own culture, other people view it as like a bad thing, a negative thing, rather than like actually trying to understand why they did. How it made me feel when people reacted in a certain way, like, oh, yikes. It made me feel bad about myself. Like, it made me feel very insecure about my own identity as well. It made me question and doubt myself. Like, wow, is that really what makes me who I am? Or is that really what makes me seem like a bad person, not liking my own culture's food or other things about my own culture? I feel like people use it as a put down as well.
I don't think people judge me because it's normal for like people living in diaspora to like lose like their roots of culture and stuff, so they don't judge me, but I am like super critical of myself, so I get like super emotional when I talk about it, but I think I've gotten better about it lately.
Do you think your life would be better or worse without culture?
It'd be worse. I wouldn't have any foundations of norms, beliefs, or anything, so.
I think it would be worse without culture because your culture is what ties people together. And I feel like if I don't have a culture, then which groups do I belong to and who can I connect to? Because like sometimes you could connect with people in the same culture as you more than someone who isn't in the same culture as you.
Worse. My life would be much worse without my culture.
Culture is your identity, like that's like, if we didn't have culture or we didn't have an identity, we'd just be soulless almost. Like we're just walking and talking, but there's no life to us at all. Like that's what makes us unique.
I have no idea. I mean, like getting it taken away from me right now, it would definitely be bad because I know I had something and now it's gone. But I don't know, being born without what I have now, I wouldn't really know the difference. But if I had my language and food and everything taken away from me, I'd be quite sad because it's the food that I grew up eating and the food my grandparents eat and like the language and everything. It's a huge part of who I am. It reminds me of my family, my childhood.
I think I would be less confident in myself because a lot of my self-confidence comes from the fact that I feel unique in my culture and as an individual.
I think it's a good thing to have culture in your life because it can give you a sense of like where your family has gone and like the struggles they've gone through to like get to like where you are right now, like present day. And like not having that, not knowing that, I feel like it's like not knowing a part of yourself.
I'm pretty sure it would be kind of the same, a little bit better. Yeah.
Without culture?
Yeah, without culture. Yeah, so like I feel like I would probably do a lot of better things if I didn't focus kind of on my culture, you know. Okay, so I feel like culture sometimes distracts me from what I'm trying to do, and then like I get distracted by that and I'm focusing on that where I can be focusing on something bigger like being a better person or something else.
So you don't think culture makes you a better person?
I feel like it does sometimes, but not all the time.
How do you feel around other people's culture?
I feel fine. I like learning about other cultures.
I feel like good around other people's cultures. I don't know. I think I'm really interested in like learning about how other people live and like what they do. I mean, I don't know if I like say fully that I don't like. There's not like one specific culture where like, oh wow, like I really wish I was a part of that. But I mean, I do think a lot of like traditions, different cultures and communities are really cool, and like I would like to be a part of something like greater like that.
Depends on how different it is compared to mine. If it's completely different, you kind of feel uncomfortable because like it's something completely different, not used to. But if similar, I'm okay with it because like it's similar to what I do.
It doesn't make me uncomfortable, but it's like new, so it's like it takes me a while to like get used to it or like kind of understand the different things that they value, but I do try to keep an open mind.
I feel great. I feel like it's an awesome thing to like embrace other people's cultures and get to know their cultures. It gives you an open mindset and like open to new things and new ideas and new.
I feel normal. It's just like I don't feel uncomfortable, but I don't feel comfortable. It's kind of like in between.
I feel good. I'm glad. It makes me so happy seeing people embrace who they are, and like, hey, my name is this, and I do this, and I eat like these food, and it makes me because like things like that make me really happy. I get sad when people are like changing their names, their pronunciation of things, just so it's easier for other people. My name is Ahlam. No one can say it, and people ask me if I have a nickname, but I don't because I like my name, and so always making sure I stick to that, and everyone else around me is also doing that as well.
Do you feel more comfortable when you're around people with similar culture?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course. Like we just vibe and just like hang out a lot. We relate to each other.
Yeah, of course, because those are my people.
I do feel comfortable when I'm around people with similar culture. Like I tend to gravitate towards them. I feel like that's the case for a lot of people, but if there's a big group of people and then there's someone with similar traits, I do tend to gravitate towards them.
I wouldn't say culture, but it's just like when I look at somebody and like they're Asian, then I would feel more comfortable, I would say. But we don't have to have like the exact same culture, but I could relate to them better.
For me, there's not really many people with like that I know that are like similarly cultured to me, but I do find that being around other mixed people, we kind of have like, I don't know, we can relate to each other on a different level than I can with like a lot of other people. Just kind of the same like experiences that we have with being like mixed race kids and stuff, which I don't know if it's like feel more comfortable around them, but I think it's more like it's like easy to like relate to each other, kind of camaraderie in that sense.
When I'm around people of the similar culture, I feel the same as if I'd be around with any other culture.
I don't really mind. I feel comfortable around everyone, no matter the culture. What makes me uncomfortable is people who are not accepting of other cultures or think they're more right or they're better than everyone else. That's what makes me uncomfortable.
Why do you think a lack of culture is bad in many people's eyes?
Oh, well, usually the people that think it's bad are the people that have like a rich cultural background, you know? And if someone doesn't have that, then they might, because they may understand like the benefits or the richness of having a good, like a dense cultural background, and they might feel bad for someone that doesn't, but to the person that doesn't really have that like ever, you know, they might not really feel like they're missing out on anything, or they may, I don't know, but I feel like a lot of that comes from how you personally feel and how you feel with your cultural experiences.
I think a lack of culture in a lot of people's eyes is a bad thing because you're losing a strong connection that like has been a part of your family, or like in most cases has been a part of your family, and so like it's almost like you're losing touch with parts of who you are because it's parts of like it ties back to like who you are in your family and who your family is and who they were and how they are now. And so I think it has a lot to do with like how people identify with themselves and losing part of your own identity.
I feel like for a long time it was forced upon people to like forget their identity and their culture, that now we're in a period where everyone's like embracing their cultures. So if you see someone else who isn't doing that, you're like, oh, okay, so you want to be like everyone else. You don't want to hold on to who you are. You're a disappointment to your parents and all of that. And so I feel like those people have those kind of mindsets, and that's why embracing who you are is more important now, because there's no reason to be afraid of who you are anymore.
Like, so like, I feel like people think that's a bad thing because like you're trying to get rid of a part of you that you don't kind of like, I guess, if you're trying to throw it away. So people feel bad saying like they're not comfortable with themselves.
When someone doesn't embrace their own culture, people just bash them for it. I'm not really sure why it's viewed as a negative thing. It just is.
I think it, like, to other people, it looks like they're trying to push away their culture and their heritage, but that's not true.
I think it's because I feel like, especially since we live in America, where like you come in here being taught that you have to know English and know these are the America's cultural like ideas, and you come from a place where it's completely different. Like people look down on you if you like lack culture, because they seem that like you're forgetting who you are and you're becoming American, you know?
What cultural programs are you a part of?
Oh, good one. So during my junior year, I was part of a club called ASA, Asian Student Association. The club was basically a club where we just get hours and wouldn't really learn anything. So I ran and became vice president of the club, and my goal was to raise awareness of the issues in the Asian community, not just to the Asian community, but also people that don't identify with the Asian culture. So that's what we did my whole senior year. We did presentations. So our first meeting of ASA was about MSG and how it is not bad for you and it's just Western ignorance. And then we talked about being Asian and gay, and yeah.
Well, I am part of ASA.
I'm a part of Asian Student Association and Jewish Student Union.
Yes, currently I attend UFC, so it's just a Filipino group in Stanford University. All we do is just like learn about our culture, immerse ourselves in that, and just relate to one another and just get through the struggles of college.
Well, like when I was little, my mom forced us to go to Swedish school until we were out of elementary school, and same with me and my sister both play the violin, and so we had to be a part of a Swedish fiddling group until we were in 8th grade. Which, like, looking back, I'm glad I did, because it's like a cool, like, new, different type of music, and I learned a lot more Swedish than I would have otherwise, just because we speak less Swedish, like, just in my house, because my dad doesn't speak Swedish. So I don't really participate in that anymore, but we definitely had to do that when we were little.
I attended this school on Saturday for literally the last 13 years of my life. And it's not a language school, it's a Japanese school, but it's not a language school, so I don't learn Japanese. It's like you have to know Japanese to get in, and then every day, it's like a regular school day, so it's like 6-7 periods long, and there's lunch and like recess. And we learn like regular subjects like math, science, history, language arts, and everything, but it's all in Japanese. So like I attended this culture school for 13 years, and I like literally like just graduated from it. So for me, like every Saturday I was still in school. So I had 6 days of school a week. So that like really influenced my education, and that definitely did influence my like regular like school, like Monday to Friday school education as well, because sometimes we'd be learning the same things, or I would get different like perspectives on the education that I would receive. So then I would have like regular American education and then a snippet of Japanese education.
Well, as a Muslim, I'm the president of MSA, but we don't have any we used to have an East African club back when my cousins were here. I think this is the first year we do not have it, so I was also a part of that. And then just like hosting multicultural night and seeing my people dance and like practicing with them and things like that, that helped me like reconnect with it.
Period. Thank you. Next.
Okay, did I ask?
How does my language affect my culture?
What's one unique thing about your culture?
I say our traditional values.
Wait, was that it?
I really said I'm Asian. I'm Asian. I'm Asian. Can you use these in the bloopers?
Yeah.
Banana.
Yeah.
It's like fruit with a core. And it's yellow.
Your banana has cores in it?
It's like fruit with a core. It's called a core. Wait, no, it doesn't have a core. Oh my gosh, wait. That's Julie's fault. Please cut that out. Culture is... Ooh. Can you help me, Hazel? What's culture?
Culture.
You're gonna take your definition?
Yeah, I just need some input. I just need a brainstorm.
Like, you know, like something about like community, like something that defines where you come from and like your background.
I think culture is something that defines your background and
Do you feel impacted by whitewashing?
Whitewashing? What is whitewashing even? When Hazel Ostrowski influences me. Yeah, Hazel influences me every single day in the worst ways possible. She brings out the worst in me.
Can you put on your senior project?
I definitely.
My armpit's a little bit sweaty though. No, please don't put that in. Just a little bit, you know, but they smell good because deodorant. You should just make the whole thing about Selena. This is all about me, guys.
Is Selena.
Yeah, this is my senior project. It's about Selena Furman.
Oh, shit.
How do I look?
How do you feel people view you when you tell?
I define culture as
How does your culture tie into your identity?
You just gotta do what you gotta do.
Yep. You gotta do what you gotta do.
I stared at the camera.
Tell us again. What do you gotta do?
You gotta do what you gotta do.
Not to brag or anything, but I got direct admit to architecture at UW. Zoom.